The psychedelic revolution is here. If you want to integrate your visionary experiences into your purpose, get clear on your entrepreneurial path, and help people while you do what you love, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Psychedelic Entrepreneur, Medicine for These Times. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach, 3-time entrepreneur, and a lifelong student of psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. You carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times. This podcast will help you to share your medicine so you can create transformation in the world. Listen in on conversations with psychedelic leaders, changemakers, and conscious entrepreneurs who are living proof that a better world is possible when you follow your heart and live in alignment with your soul. Hey, I just wanted to let you know to sign up for my all-new free online series called Psychedelics, Sacred Medicines, Purpose, and Business. You can sign up now. It's totally free. We start September 29th. It goes until October 8th. And in this series, I bring you over 35 of the world's leading experts and authors and visionaries and entrepreneurs in the fields of psychedelics, sacred plant medicines, animal medicines, entrepreneurship, personal development, astrology, tantra, visionary art, science, health and wellness, human design, and more. Be sure to join in. It's totally free. Psychedelics, Sacred Medicines, Purpose, and Business. You can grab the link here in the show notes, and I will see you there. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I have today my friend Maryn Azoff with us. Hey, Maryn. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited for you to meet Maryn. I have been personally working with her for many years, but she's also a really good friend. I even bring her into my group coaching programs to teach my clients some of her magic. And if you don't know Maryn, check her out at vocaltransformation.com. Her links are here in the show notes, and you can also follow her on all the social medias, Instagram at vocal_transformation. So Maryn Azoff is a member of Tribe of Love and Cura Cura, two really incredible bands that are doing kind of their modern take on medicine music. She's also a longtime singer, musician, spirit lifter, soul emancipator, and fear crusher. She's been a mission of connecting people all over the world to the power of the human voice for many years, and does so through a unique program and healing modality she created called Vocal Transformation. The goal of her work is to reawaken the innate intelligence of the body, mind, spirit connection through the faculty of the human voice. Her approach to healing is vibrational. A true student of earth and spirit, Maryn has dedicated many years of her life to studying ancient wisdom by participating in a wide variety of healing circles from many different cultures, ranging from Vedic and Tibetan wisdom traditions to South American shamanism. In addition to working directly with private students, she also facilitates vocal transformation workshops globally as a mission to help in the awakening of humanity. The driving force behind her work is the aspiration that we can remember who we are and the power that we all have to bring about a true shift in consciousness where we all live as one on Earth. Maryn, tell us your story, and don't leave out the one detail or else I'm going to reveal it to people. How did you get here? I mean, what was your journey to creating vocal transformation and leading retreats and working with privates? What path were you on when you were younger?
Okay, so it's a long story and we don't have a long time, so I'm going to give you a super abridged version. But I started as a singer when I was 5 years old. I found my voice then, and there was a natural ability that I had. That ability came at a time where I was having some early childhood abuse that was going on, right? There was something that was traumatizing me at the moment that would normally have sent me into silence. But ultimately, that was spiritually, or my soul, for whatever reason, that was when my voice was first heard. So I was one of the lucky ones who, at this moment where my voice would have been stifled, it was actually supported, and they saw that there was a gift there, and they began to train me, right? So I learned really young how to breathe properly and how to support my voice. But still, trauma creates all sorts of psychological things, So there was plenty of stuff that I had to work out throughout my life. But I went on to being a professional singer and doing different, shows and theater and music was just my whole life, right? So I did that for a long time, but with a lot of deeper wounds that I obviously hadn't known. It was all very repressed memories for a very long time. I just would use my voice and my performing and my acting and my music as a way of like being out there with this beautiful mask on. But there was a lot in there, which I didn't know then, right? We find this out later on in life when we fast forward and we have a little bit of hindsight and we can start to like do some healing work, right? But I was a singer for a very long time, but it was never really my happiness ultimately, because underneath there was all of this stuff that was being repressed and hidden, and I didn't really know it was there. So I had a talent and I learned how to sing. I was trained properly and I really had this voice, but I kept making all these poor choices for myself and sabotaging different areas of my life, right? As a lot of us do. So ultimately, I had an interaction with a record label when I was 19 years old, and it was not as wonderful as I wanted it to be. It seemed like it was like this incredible dream that was going to happen, but it was bringing up all of this really bad stuff. And I ended up deciding I'm not going to be a singer. So I'm right there at the moment of like, there's the dream, right? And I ended up in like crazy issues personally and emotionally. So I cut singing out of my life and I stopped singing for 7 years. And in those 7 years, I found a lot of other things about myself. I decided I'm not a singer. This has been how I've been defined my whole life. Like, what am I going to do? So I went on to study body work and to study energy healing and to study more. I obviously went on a spiritual like pilgrimage and I ended up moving to the other side of the world to Australia, where I met a beautiful man who introduced me to meditation. And I started to do my deeper inner work. Obviously my soul knew, even at that young age, like my soul knew that there was something right else. So a long story short, I went through a long period of cultivating certain knowledges, learning different things. I lived on an ashram for a minute. I had different things that I did to taste different practices and different ways to evoke spirit. And then ultimately I ended up having a terrible accident and I broke my arm in Australia where they messed up my surgery and I ended up having to come back to New York. My entire life that I had built over there fell on its head. And when I came back, I was introduced to my first shaman. And when I was introduced to him and I sat in ceremony with him, I had this incredible vision of what I would call God, this unconditional, loving, incredible light being that told me that I was ignoring a gift that I'd been given. And so when I asked this God what that was, God said, your voice. And I immediately was full of all these feelings of like, well, I know that I have a voice. Like I get it. I have an ability, but it's not the dream. Like it's been a nightmare this whole time. It hasn't done what it's supposed to do. I just can't seem to make that work. And God told me that every time I had been asked to sing over those 7 years that I had stopped singing and I had said no, which had happened quite a lot, right? That I was spitting in his face. So I was full of shame. How do you spit in God's face? And I just had these feelings of I need forgiveness, I need redemption. And I asked God, what can I do for your forgiveness? And God said, just promise me if anybody asks you to sing moving forward, you will say yes. And so of course I made the promise immediately to save my soul. And then at that very moment, the shaman asked me to sing. So I'm like, now? And the shaman says, yes. So I go to sing and there's no song there. And my head is running around like crazy. And I can't find a song, but I know thousands of songs. I'm a singer my whole life, right? And so I realized it was this fear and this insecurity that was sitting in there. And that's when the medicine came to really help me move through what had created all of that. And then finally, when she did that process in front of that ceremony, I sang my first song, right? And I have been singing every moment since. But that was the beginning of realizing how important the voice was, because what God said to me in that meeting was, I've given you the voice for healing. When you sing, you heal yourself. And anybody who gets to hear that frequency gets healed at the level that you're healing. Your voice is not for other. Your voice is for you. Other gets the privilege of that if they're in the room, right? So this ego identity around the voice of like, I have a talent, I have a gift, I want the world to hear that I can sing. This is something that we do in our society that is, it's detrimental to soul growth. Like the soul's dynamic life urge for truthful expression is what the human voice actually is. So that is not just singing. That's how we speak. That's how we express ourselves. It's our soul's dynamic life urge to be authentically who we are, to tell our experience to the world so that we can all learn from each other, right? So fast forward, years of working with this, and throughout the first year after I started beginning working with the medicine, it was actually the medicine herself who showed me exactly what I'm teaching today. She showed me everything I had picked up and learned and why I had to take that 7-year break. And she showed me how this program that I've created, or that I'm going to say she really co-created, that this program actually goes in to reclaim all of the lost vibrational frequency of the voice through the chakra system. And you can find yourself and rebirth yourself through the power of your own voice, and then manifest your life with that frequency that your voice holds. Because in the ancient Vedic texts, they actually call the human voice unmanifest form. So through chanting mantra and through using your voice, you actually can create physical form, because your voice is a vibrational wave that collapses into matter, right? So sound heals matter. It works on matter. It's vibrational. It works on physical matter. It's why we have sound healers coming out in droves now to like lie people down and let them receive vibration, right? And it heals and it helps and it moves. But I am here to show the world, whoever is ready to really step into their true power, that your own voice can do this all day, every day. You can heal physical wounds, like physical body, emotional traumas. You can heal others with your voice. It's like there's the vibrational power of your voice is God, right? And I don't want to say that lightly, like, everyone, you're God, but you are, we're co-creators of this reality. And your voice is such a key tool in that. So anyway, that's my path ultimately led me to, I still sing and I still share my voice and I still love being not just myself, but in groups singing and sharing voices together. But my mission in this world, although my voice I enjoy very much, is to get everybody into that place where they understand the power of their vocal expression. What we say, what we don't say, how we say it, how we don't say it, who we say it to, and who we don't say it to, creates our reality. And every one of us is solely responsible for our reality. It's your life. And then we're all these single cells in a whole body. So if every person could really empower, like fill their cells with their spirit, with their light, and spirit themselves, imagine how healthy the whole body would be, right? It's an
Oh,
incredible journey of
Maryn, so
awakening.
much goodness here. So I just want to say I have been doing the vocal transformational work with Maryn for I think like 3 years now. I don't even know, 2.5, 3. I've been on I think 3 or 4 of her retreats. I've been to Costa Rica with her. I'm going back to Costa Rica, and I firsthand have experienced exactly what she said. It's there was actually like physical healing taking place, which I was very surprised by. Things that were, who knows what the block was. I had broken ribs when I was younger. And when I was doing some of this chanting, I could feel shifts. But then I also saw my life transform very quickly, like in so many ways, including coming out with my psychedelic sacred medicines purpose and business series, which scared the hell out of me. But it was that fear of speaking my voice, speaking what was coming through me. Now, I have a question, because there's a lot of people who are on the medicine path or interested in psychedelics who are listening or watching this. And what you experienced was actually very similar to what I experienced with the medicine, quote unquote, telling me what to go do. And it took me a few years to really listen to it because I didn't believe it. I didn't trust it. I kind of thought like, oh no, that's too scary but you said like the medicine pretty much showed you what you're teaching now. I'm curious, did you go through a process of questioning it or did you just start acting on it? Did you think it was maybe like the trickster medicine, like making things up, or did you know it to be like the truth coming through?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of fearless, which is why I say I'm a fear crusher because I live a life where if there's something like makes I can really hear my heart. It's a blessing that I've always had. Like there's just so far I can go here without listening to this. And so I've always been able to feel that ping, right? That like this feels good in here. It's not in here, it's here. And I've really always been good at that. And I do say that's because learning how to sing, you learn how to breathe. And your breath, if you breathe properly, you stay very heart-centered, which we can talk about another time, but like it's very real. And it's part of the program. It's part of what I teach on these retreats, like how to actually breathe so that you're fully alive, right? But the heart has always been there for me. It's been a great blessing. And so I trust my heart. And when she showed me this, she actually also said, "You have you ever noticed that when people start working with me, that they want to sing very quickly?" And I said, yes, because I had noticed that within my community that everyone like wants to learn the songs and sing the Icaros and like really get into it. And voices just start emerging, which is to me just so beautiful, right? And she said, that's me liberating the soul, the spirit and the body sing. Like it's these two intelligences that you are. And I liberate the soul by bringing you out bigger than your body. Like your voice moves beyond the form and it liberates your spirit, right? So then she told me that I knew how to do it. And she showed me like literally a three-dimensional picture of like how this thing works. And I knew that I could do it. I was like, I do know how to do this. And she said, I want you to work for me. So when she said that, I had this, right? And when I left and just spoke of it, and someone said, I'll be your first student. Right. So with that, it was just a very quick, like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's see if it works. And then we started to see, wait, this is really something. And then more and more and more, like as things start to work, in life, when you have something that actually works, people are going to show up. If you build it and it works, people are going to come. It's just that simple because you actually have a medicine for the people. And not only that, it's just like to empower us again is the key. Look at everything going on in the world right now. We doubt, we question, fake news, no truth. Like we don't even we are in such a major the epidemic is a solar plexus issue. We have a serious problem with our heart connection right now. And these plant medicines are coming out to bring us to the heart chakra again. All of these psychedelics are mind altering substances so that we can feel something beyond our natural thought process. So it wakes up your heart center. And then we can reconnect to our soul and that intelligence that is not just, it's your spirit and it's your quantum cosmic self and your embodiment and all the intelligence of the earth that you are. Your voice is the ultimate way to connect to all of this because the voice is your highest quantum cosmic self that you breathe in, you respirit, you respirate the body, right? And then you use the body, the intelligence, to express the feelings, to express the emotions, to express the desires, to express the thoughts, to express everything that's going on inside of this consciousness. And then only once you get it out and express it, can you actually get a reflection from another soul that will ultimately teach you, right? And right now, we're just living in a pandemic of don't speak up, like keep it to yourself because you'll be rejected or you'll be, you become the enemy and there's so much divisiveness, right? And when I see that happening, it is a call for the opposite action. So don't be afraid. Find your voice, know your heart truth, and share it because it's the only way we're going to survive all of this. And every single human being matters so much right now, right? This time feels like things are falling apart, but things are awakening, right? And I know that there's like a real divide here of how we're experiencing this time. in this society, but I know a lot of people who are experiencing the awakening, right? And so we're all just really key parts. Your voice is so important right now. If you know love, the love of yourself and the love of this world and the earth, and if you can feel that connection, your voice matters so much. And I always find I work with thousands and thousands of people all over the world. I always find that it's the golden hearts that are always the meek, right? That are always the ones who don't share it, and the ones who'll burn it down and who'll criticize and who'll judge and who'll tear it all down. They're the ones who feel confident in their ego to be like, I am, right? But it's the sweetness and the love and the compassion and all of that that will be quiet. And we need so much more of that vibration coming out of
Yeah, no,
humanity right
I'm
now.
so glad you're talking about this. It's so interesting because I'm listening to Maryn. I'm like, well, she's saying a lot of the things I say when I explain, to my clients, like how important it is to show up right now, to really like start putting yourself out there, to come and, as I call it, share your own medicine. It's inside of you. It's something that's coming through you. It's a literal soul, right? It's a channel. It's your heart wanting to be expressed outwardly. And this is where people come to me where they're like, okay, I can feel something that's living in me, and I feel like the path I'm on is misaligned, and I'm ready to start, embodying myself as a healer, or coming out as a coach, or switching my career to become the therapist I always wanted to be. And this is a huge part of it, is sharing your voice, and even speaking that very first thing, saying like, hey, actually, I'm starting a business as a healer. It is so scary for people to even take that very first step to say what it is that they're up to. I'm curious, what have you experienced over the years helping people come out with their voice? Like, do you find that people are then able to own who they truly are a lot more? Or have you seen people make major career changes through this? Besides me, I didn't make a career change, but it definitely shifted my entire business doing this work with Maryn. But yeah, like, have you seen this happen? Is this like a common occurrence? Because I see it all the time with my clients.
This is all I do. So the work, which we haven't really gone into how it works, but the voice is moving through the whole chakra system. And we would call that in the voice world resonators of the voice. So your voice, the sound of your voice, it doesn't come from here, right? Vocal cords that are here rub together and make different shapes to make certain pitches, right? That's what the cords do. But the voice is from the root all the way to the crown, and it moves through resonators, right? That create certain frequencies. Everything in this world is electromagnetic frequency. Everything's working as a pulse and attracting and polarizing, right? This is quantum mechanics. So if you look at your chakra system, all 7 chakras are resonators, right? But inside of those chakras, there are groupings of nerve ganglion, right? And when you use your voice and you bring them there, you are stimulating your nerves. You're resetting and balancing your entire central nervous system, right? So that's the science behind this, right? But we start all the way at the root, which is your soul contract and what you've come here for. And most people are nowhere near that right now. I work with plenty of people who've done work on themselves, because this is kind of work that, you kind of are like, okay, I'm ready to work, right? And so I have a lot of people who are already on a path, but I work with plenty of people who are nowhere near a path, right? And they just trust this. And so we get in and we start from your contract, like what you're doing here. And that connects you once again to the earth at the earth level, right? So the earth is the power of manifestation itself. It's the Kundalini life force energy of physical creativity. You can have a brilliant, brilliant mind up here with all these ideas, but you cannot physically create it in reality without a connection to the embodiment, right? Our physical life force is what creates the world, right? We're co-creators that way. So once we get in there and we start to really look at how you think now and how you function now, and we start to rewire the nervous system and we start to rework the story, and you actually can hold your earth and own whatever it is that you want to be or that you see yourself as already, right? Even if it's not showing up in reality, it starts to change your world physically, right? So it's not just this concept of like, this is what I want to be. It's literally shifting the electromagnetic fields that are coming out of your entire embodiment, which then attracts towards your life what it is that you're now vibrating at, right? You can't have what you are not. You cannot get what you cannot be. This is something that in love we really need to understand, because we all have issues in love, relationships, everyone's relationships and money, right? If you're thinking that you aren't worthy of money, you're not going to get money. Sorry, it's just the truth, right? If you know that you are of value and you hold yourself at value and you hold your health at value, it doesn't have to be, I have to be a gazillionaire because that's what they tell me I have to be. That's also out of balance, right? But for you to live your best life and to know what that means and what your worth is, you will start to attract that to you. But you have to hold that really, not just as some kind of a head trip, in your embodiment. So anyway, without going too off, I have watched people heal major illnesses. I have watched people heal relationship issues, heal generations of family stuff, recreate their entire careers, find new places on this earth to call home. I have watched people finally claim themselves. And once that happens, and your soul, which is your heart, right? Like your soul and your earth come to meet at your heart center. And the heart is the largest resonator of the human voice. So when we start to work and get your voice moving through your heart center, you are awakening that conversation. And when you listen to it and you start to follow that, it will not fail. You will get it. You deserve it. You are it. It is you. Like, there's nothing you can't have here. And I can't tell you that enough. But it's a matter of knowing what you really want. Because you can throw out a trillion different desires and get little bits of it all. Or you could find out what really is going to fulfill you as a person and what really is going to make you your greatest contribution to this life. And that's the work we have to do first. We have to find your authentic truth. Because once we find that, regardless of what your parents might have told you, or your school might have told you, or your society might have told you, or your friends told you, like regardless of anything that some outside ignorant source, without you going in and actually knowing your authentic truth, which we all know deep down inside. We just got to do the work. Once you name that, the earth and spirit, which are profound intelligences, start to work in a way that I've been doing this for a long time, and the magic just never gets old. It just never gets old to watch people like pop open and claim their life again. It's just the most fantastic work you could possibly do.
I'm evidence. I am literally evidence. I have so many stories doing this work with Maryn, to the point where I was actually just telling one of our common friends yesterday how when I went on Maryn's Costa Rica retreat, I went in with a pretty big intention. I honestly didn't really expect it to fully shift, like meaning like fully heal. Like it was a pretty deep ask, like a whole entire paradigm shift in my way of being. Not just like, oh, I want this. No, it was literally like how I've been being for over 40 years of my life. And it shifted. And I know it was a huge part of the work was this vocal alchemy, along with the prayer, along with doing a lot of the inner work. And I'm curious, when I was listening to you speak, because I don't remember, I've been doing this along with other integration modalities like somatic therapy on a very regular basis. I work with coaches. I have an NLP practitioner. I'm curious if someone goes into this vocal transformation work, and let's say they're dealing with, the fear of coming out into their purpose, because we all know that the fear of speaking your truth and being in your full authenticity it's really like deep trauma based on what you just said. It's like, okay, people told you a certain, you have to be this way, or you're not allowed to speak that up or speak up, or you're not allowed to be that, or society told you this, or now there's the internet, and so people are just living in fear of being their true selves. I'm curious if someone does this vocal transformation work, but then they don't have any other integration or therapy processes going, like, can you still clear deep trauma with just the vocal transformation work, or is it advised to have, other support as well?
So I would say that if it depends how you're going to do this work, right? So if you're going to do it one-on-one with me, it's a year to a year and a half long program that it's like you have the one-on-one coaching, and then you have the therapy, you have the integration, you have as you process it. I really recommend the breakthrough retreats that I do, which are a week long, where we go in and we like start to really open it up. And I recommend that as a first step where you can really like get into the understanding what vocal transformation is, how it works, how it feels. So after one of those retreats, I would recommend that you either set up some sessions where you have me to help you integrate it, or if you depending on how deep your trauma is, if you know you're dealing with something that's really deep in there that you need to move, I would probably recommend that you do have some kind of a therapist to work through it with. But you don't have to. You could do this on your own. It's the only reason why I recommend that you would have someone is because when you get to that moment of healing, which you probably know this in your work, Beth, when you get to that moment when real change is about to happen, your head's going to do whatever it can to stop you from doing it. Where your mind is actually about to not be recognizable to itself. You know, you see this a lot in meditation practice, like after long silent retreats, when your mind is actually about to turn into like, it's going to be quieted and it's no longer going to be the voice that you listen to. It just starts to like, no, right? So when you're doing any kind of deep, profound healing work, any kind, voice or not voice, I recommend that you have somebody, if you know that there's old genetic, old trauma, old wounds, that you have someone to help be accountable. It's more about accountability. But I do think that the vocal work is something that you can do on your own. If you're disciplined and you have the practice and you can do it, you don't really require another, because I always say this, what I'm waking up in every person is not mine, it's yours, right? And every person has their own unique conversation with the creator and with the earth. They're your parents. They're what birthed you. They're the ones. We have stories of our parents. We have stories of our families. And yeah, that's part of our life. We're here to do some deep familial healing. That's a contract that we signed. But ultimately, our life-giving source are these two incredible intelligences, and you have your direct consciousness connected to them, which is why I say every person matters, and every person's vantage point and perception and creative abilities, and like every person matters. So when you're in a world where they're trying to make you like everybody else, it's an issue. The reason why most of us are afraid of death is because we're not living. If you were actually fully in your power, fully alive, making your choices, taking your risks, living your truest identity, every day is an absolute miraculous gift. And you would be able to let go of it when the time comes too, because you've actually had the opportunity at a real life. But when you're living under a program, where you're living according to the way someone else told you you have to be, and meanwhile there's something inside of you that's unsatisfied and unfulfilled, and you're not listening to that, well, now you're kind of squandering this incredible experience, and you're like, you don't want to die because there's something that's scratching at you that you haven't quite gotten to. And that's really where we run into this really unhealthy fear of death, if you ask me. It's like that is your soul scratching at you, like, would you just live, please? And especially in the voice, with the voice, people afraid to sing, right? Like, I always laugh at this because it's not brain surgery. Like, however it sounds, you're not going to kill someone, right? It's like you're just going to see what your voice is doing. And then the more inquisitive you become and the more childlike, even like when you were a kid, you just sang or spoke or screamed or laughed or cried or anything that you needed to do to express. And it wasn't until somebody told you that it was no good that you stopped. It wasn't until someone from the outside said, "You're too loud," or "Don't sing," or "Don't do that," um, or "Boys, don't be gay." Like there's so many things I hear on a day-to-day basis about people who've been stifled at a moment where they were unabashedly free. And that is the issue, the outside reflection. But we have to turn this around and claim it back, because every single human voice, no matter what it sounds like or whatever, it's just sound. Just let it be. Let it be you. Just be you freely. And when that shift happens, it's a very different world.
Yeah, and I feel that when you speak about the voice, at least with my so I when I started working with Maryn, I was one of these people where I was like, well, you know what, I want to sing again. I sang as a kid. I didn't think I was terrible as a kid. Who knows, maybe I was, but I wanted to just sing again. But then when I started doing this vocal transformation work, it actually shifted so much more than my actual voice. It was that deep internal coming into a different power, like really deep internal power of being in my full authenticity and being my truth, which then, once I came out in my fullest truth, like unabashedly and unafraid to put myself out there to a huge amount of people out in the public, including people who I know and love, that actually scared me even more than the strangers who I don't know. But everything started shifting in my life. Like it really, and I kept saying to, Maryn and my coach at the time, I kept saying, this feels so liberating. Like it feels so liberating to be in your fullest truth and not be afraid. And yes, once in a while there's a hater, or once in a while things, quote, don't go according to plan, but it's actually okay because you're still, it's like Maryn just said, like becoming that child, getting curious, playing. I mean, that's how I approach starting a business, stepping into your purpose. It's all just a journey, and all we can do is have fun and play with it while also getting into the action and the co-creation. And I'm curious, so you've called this before, like, or at least I think it was some of your retreats, like shamanic vocal transformation. And some of your retreats that are in countries where it's totally legal, you also integrate in work with ayahuasca and plant medicine. Can you talk a little bit about how these two go together? And if you feel that, where does the ayahuasca play a part in this vocal transformation work? Like, do we really need it, or it just makes it that much better? Or it's just, what made you want to bring those two together?
So I do the retreats two different ways, right? Shamanic will have some plant medicine with it, and then straight won't, because the work can be done without the medicine for anybody who's not at that place in their life. But this work with the medicine she was the insemination of it, and she just loves it. That's all that I could say. So when you're with the medicine, when most people work with the medicine and they open their voice in some way, they sing or they share in some way. And I've been for years now ushering people through that door, right? Um, there's this moment very often where she has you. If you're in the right space, if you've had enough, right? You have these moments, which I've had in my own circles, that I'm just so grateful for. It's this experience of watching what's happening. Like, I'm not the one doing this right now. Maryn's out of the picture. Maryn is being sung, right? And in that moment, there's always access to parts of your body that if you were doing it, you might not access. There's these beautiful ways of finding new parts of yourself because you have been altered, right? Um, so she starts, when we integrate the medicine, we're doing throughout these workshops, we're doing deep personal healing. We're going through our life stories. We're sharing deep, important moments in our life that have defined us. We're opening ourselves up vulnerably, and we form these containers that are completely confidential and completely non-judgmental and completely like trust building and holding, where we actually form these tight units. I always find that after my retreats, they want to like stay together and do the work together because we just get into each other so deeply, right? So you form these pods where you really can, by each person showing up the way they do, get deeper and deeper into that healing together. Very often with the medicine, people are doing their own work, which is super important. I go on dietas every year, like, yeah, go in, keep it apart, right? But not often do you get the opportunity to do this deep work together and then go into your own space, knowing that it's fully held. Everyone is there with you. And then you're doing your own private work, but there's nothing that can't come out in that group because we're already, when we're not under the medicine, doing it. So it becomes this really beautiful space to be able to deepen that work that we've been doing in our classes throughout the week. And then we all open up our voices to sing together and to chant together and to, share who we are with each other. And so it's just already so intimate that it makes the healing aspect of it with the medicine that much deeper, right? And it just opens up a different opportunity. In some ceremonies, people share some songs, but in some ceremonies, shaman are just doing it the whole time, which is a beautiful way. I love those ceremonies the same. But there is that desire in people sometimes to share, but they're afraid to. And I just would love anybody who works with this medicine, just because I know her for so long. She wants that voice, right? And you want that experience of actually being altered and letting her sing you, because you'll surprise yourself. You'll just be totally surprised by what you find in there. And so on these retreats give the permission. It's just straight permission to be unabashedly your voice, like just to bring it out. And so we find a lot of really deep breakthroughs happen.
It's I'm just sitting here pointing at myself going, yeah. I had been working with Maryn. I think I had been on retreats and then private and then the chanting and then this and that. But I remember the first time I actually felt that feeling in a ceremony where and now I can do it without a ceremony and without any medicine, where I felt that, like I felt that it was singing me, like it wasn't me. And now I actually notice it when I'm coaching my clients. I notice it during a lot of these interviews. I notice it very much in my business where it's just not me. It's beyond me. It's the channel, right? It's like it's the singing comes through me. When I do a live workshop, it's usually like I don't even remember what I just said because it's just coming through. It's coming through. And I know the work that I've been doing with Maryn has opened up my channel so much. And I do believe, and I say this to my clients, I'm like, really, this is where it's at. Like, this is all we need to do is just become the channel and be the channel for the divine purpose to flow through you. And, I'm not here to say that Maryn has helped me make a lot of money, but my business has taken off like exponentially since doing this vocal transformation work. I don't know. I mean, it could have just been coincidental with 10 other things going on as well, but it was the courage of opening up my voice, of really doing very deep healing. I remember around my solar plexus, like Maryn probably remembers this. There was and it's weird because I've always been so outspoken. I'm a double fire sign. I've never had a problem speaking up. But when it came to a really deep version of sharing me on a whole new level that no one's ever seen before, it was scary as shit. And that's where, the chanting and going really deep into solar plexus, it started shifting a lot. Like, business took off. Amazing partner for a while. I manifested a dream home. Like came out about the psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. And in your bio, you mention that remembering who we are also then has the power to bring the real deep shift in consciousness that we all want to see. How is this connected? Like, because I believe this is a huge part of my personal mission is helping people step into their purpose and get their work out there to the world so we can see the shift. But is that what you also believe? Like, how are these two things connected?
Yeah, I hear all the time that there's too many humans on this planet and that we're the cancer and that we have to, like, we're the issue here. But I don't want us humans to forget that we are the creators, that we are magnificent, and that we are holy and divine. And when that aspect of us opens up, we have the power to heal everything, right? And to shift the way everything's going. We could change our minds and open our hearts right now, and we can put an end to everything that's going on. There is nothing on this planet that love will not heal, right? So what you just said, I talk about this, that solar plexus work is the key for us right now. Solar plexus is the birth of your ego. Like when we are in the developmental age of solar plexus, we are creating our ego identity. Our solar plexus is directly connected to our third eye. They work together, right? So when you have a strong ego identity that forms, like your voice, you could be totally outgoing and all of that. This is what happened to me too with my singing. I was hiding a whole lot of vulnerable insecurity in there, but I was super out front and I was the number. I could sing, I could be on a stage, I could always warrant the attention, but it was kind of a facade, right? As I would say, a lot of the confidence that you're seeing out there in the world is. So I always go to my Buddhist roots, right? To Chogyam Trungpa, one of my great teachers, who talks about primordial confidence. It's the confidence that lies innate inside of a human being just by our birth alone. The magnificent birth of being a creative consciousness that embodies onto earth and has those powers of creation within them. Just the fact that you're here, right? You should be confident about. I'm a human being. I am a co creator of reality, right? But something happened to us at the development of our ego. Maybe the bully in school, maybe the grades that you weren't getting, maybe the brother that hit you or like made fun of you a lot, maybe the friends you didn't have, like whatever happened to you at this young developmental age gave you a certain idea based on how the outside world was treating you, who you think you are. And for the most part, within our society, unfortunately, we do this by putting other people down, right? There's very little confidence building going on these days. Most of the times it's pressure to conform somehow, right? So that you feel like you're part of something because we want to be a part of something. You are already. You're here as part of the entire earth. Like you're a part of something. No approval necessary. Your birth alone is that approval, right? So that is the ego mind, that separate sense of self that's always trying to prove something or get something or be someone or figure something out, right? And right now, humanity is in the middle of a major evolution. You heard me say this a little bit earlier. And the plant medicine, it only came out of the jungles about 25 years ago. Like it's really only been coming to the Western person for a short period of time historically. This has been practiced for centuries, right? And these incredible medicine people who've risked their lives and risked everything to bring us this information and are cutting up that jungle and giving us this sacred medicine that is like leaving the jungle to come to us now, right? This didn't happen because they said, oh, white man has money. Let's go get money. That's not really the stuff that we find important here, is not what it was about. They unilaterally, all different cross cultures, they all saw the vision by the medicine itself that this cannot stay here because the earth is in trouble. You have to go wake them up. And there are people who are ready. And there are. We see those numbers growing. And now medicine is not the only way to get there. We know that, right? But it is a very valid and important way for people who don't want to sit in their meditation practice 2 hours a day and actually get their work done, where they can have a peak experience and they can touch it and feel it and taste it and have it. And then there's integration that must happen on the back end where they can maintain that vibration and actually make the changes necessary, right? So all of these medicines are earth medicines, and earth is the green, and the green is the heart chakra. And what they're doing is they are coming to wake us up, right? To remind us who we are. By unblocking solar plexus, which is what's holding our insecurity and our doubt and our sense of self that is less than or unworthy, all of our guilt, all of our shame, all of this stuff that we're always living in and feeding, all that suffering, right? By unblocking that, we have full access now to the heart. And now we're evolving. And that is the current evolution of man. We hear this in like hippie land, right? Like 3D to 4D to 5D, all these dimensions. We're moving to 4D. What does 4D mean, everybody? Heart chakra, right? We're moving out of a serving of self, the I, me, mine. The whole world is here for me. I have to be the number one. I'm going to be the boss. I'm the best. All of this need to prove your oneness, your sense of yourself, right? We're moving out of that into we, love, giving and receiving, reciprocity, sacred irony, sacred reciprocity with the earth, with ourselves, sharing it, coming together, working in community again. Like it's all starting to happen because the human race is so ego driven and selfish. And I mean this with all the love in my heart. It's just you're seeing what it is. Everyone's selfies all day, every day. Like we're just looking at ourself. And yes, the work must do that, right? So what do we do when we sit with these medicines? We go in and we look at ourselves, but not to stay there isolated forever because the ego will be miserable there. all we really want is to connect. So the medicine connects us back to our heart, and then we can have the empowerment again in our solar plexus. So instead of being the I, me, mine, you become the I am that I am. And you offer yourself as a contribution to the world. The world is not here to serve you. You serve the world, right? And you need primordial confidence to step back into that role to say, my life is a contribution here. And what does my voice want to say? And what songs do I feel like singing today? And what is my message for the world? Right? I ask a lot of my students if we could get Elon Musk's satellites to like stop around the world and say what you want to say to the world. So everything stops for a minute, and then there's a speaker coming off of all of his satellites that's put around, and it's going to all broadcast your voice. What would you want the world to hear coming out of you? And I really want everyone at home listening to this to think about that question. If you had everyone's ear for 2 minutes, because most people can't pay attention. I hope they're still listening to this conversation right now. But if you had the world's ear for 2 minutes and you could speak from your heart and actually make a contribution to their lives, what would you say? And that power you have on a day-to-day basis in your community with everyone you interact with. It doesn't have to stop the whole world, right? It can actually ripple through the whole world and create waves. But I think it's a good thing to reflect on how you use your voice. Do you talk down? Do you speak up? Are you kind with your words? Are you compassionate? I love the Rastafarians because they have a whole language that's positive. They don't use the word understand. They use the word overstand, right? They have a whole language based on the vibration of their language, not having anything that's of a negative vibration, right? So to really like own the power of your voice, people, right?
Yes. Huge message for these times. And it's interesting because you said one thing about, the shift from I, me, mine to we and giving, and just like, again, it's like coming back to that channel, like being in your authenticity and coming from a place of what's coming through you. And the irony is the more you show up in that place of what I call like mission, like there's a mission inside of you. There's a divine purpose that wants to flow through. And the more you actually start to embody it and work from that place and follow the little golden nuggets and just follow the trail, the more you actually, quote, get everything it is that you actually wanted. So it's like all the people I know, including myself, it's like, oh, the money flows easier. The clients come easier. The business is easier. Opportunities land in front of your face without even trying. And it's because you aren't clinging to that ego base, like me, 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 me. And when you are coming from this deeper place of what's inside of my soul, it's being fully guided, and everything that you need lands right in your lap. I mean, and I don't like to say that lightly, because it's like, okay, well, yes, it's co-creation. You do need to speak your voice and put things into action, and we're still in this material plane. But what I've seen is there's this divine purpose is where the divine abundance is located as well, where it's like, oh, everything is a lot, everything flows a lot easier, and life, everything just comes into place a lot easier than maybe before, where it's the pushing for me, 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 me. Maryn, before we go, I have one last question that I think is very important. Can you tell people a little bit more about your retreats that you have coming up, and then also what they're like? I mean, I know we heard some things, but what can people expect? Especially for people who are like, wow, this sounds really deep.
Yeah. So it's not only deep, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's lovely. It's like, but I don't call them retreats anymore, even though we're calling it here. I call them expeditions. Because when people hear the word retreat, they expect some like relaxation and all that. And so I have to be very honest. I'm a result-oriented woman. And there will be, I had an offer from somebody that wants me to like co-work with them to do a retreat, that maybe sometime in 2023 there'll be one where we can do a little bit of singing and enjoying, and also hang in some really gorgeous place together. But that's not what I'm about. I am here to wake up as many as I can, as long as I'm here. So when you come to a retreat, you are going to get your money's worth. and that's just the way that I roll. So in a week long to 10-day retreat, because they vary, you're going to go through the entire system. You're going to retell your entire life story, and you're going to get a chance to leave everything behind that you're ready to let go of, to actually shift something, right? If you're not ready, you have homework you can go home and do. There's no pressure, but we are going to do the best we can to get you the most results, to get you the most of your voice, to get you the most of your deeper work, right? In whatever else you do moving forward. So they're full. There's a lot of classes. So you come in prepared, right? And then typically on a shamanic one, there's going to be 2 ceremonies. In a level 2, there's 3 ceremonies. So we go a little bit deeper that are going to be in the middle of the week to help like stir it up, get the next level of work done, stir it up and go. We do singing circles together. We do different ceremonies and different share circles. And we do group and partnering exercises to somatically open the voice. We do primal work. So we do like getting into primal screaming and primal sounding, which to me can like save you years of couch time with a psychiatrist talking. Just get it out of the body and it's gone. It's actually gone. And it makes space for something new to come in. It's absolutely fantastic, right? We actually travel all around and scream everywhere we go because it is profound and everyone needs a good scream right now. Although you have to make sure you do it properly so you don't hurt yourself. I can help with that. So these retreats are deep, incredible, but life bonds. Like you're going to meet people and they're going to become your soul family. And there's always support on the back end, and there's always keeping in touch. We share music, we share songs, we sing group songs, we arrange different things. So we sing in groups together in ceremony and out of ceremony. It's just it's a lot of beauty. It's going to be deep and challenging, and it's also going to be exhilarating and fun and loving and lighthearted, all with delicious organic meals and like from beginning to end. These retreats are amazing. So my next one is happening really soon. And if you hear this podcast, do not like get on there because we have space right now because it's in Northern California on September 25th. And it's really rustic. So the price is actually lower than some of my other retreats because it's camping. And there's camping tents available for people who don't have their own tent, but if you can bring it, you can bring your own tent. And it's going to be a little more earthy, but it's going to on this gorgeous land at the Gayatri Center in Mountain Ranch, California. And then I have another incredible, amazing opportunity where only 11 exceptionally lucky people can come with me to the jungle in Peru in early November. We're going to be taking a group into Peru, into the jungle, to Rinquia, the river that I go to do my dietas. And we're going to be working with a world-class shaman there who is going to be doing a dieta style retreat. So there will only be 3 sits, not 5 like a regular dieta, but we will be doing the deep work through with Bobenzana, the beautiful master plant, the dream awakener, and with the medicine. And so this is the first time I'll be doing it dieta style, but I've been on dieta year after year after year. And some of the proceeds of what we're doing there is actually going towards preservation of the rainforest in that area. So we're actually going to be putting money to save the land over there so that people can't come in and get palm oil and hurt this jungle. And this is a major mission that I'm on, and that Patrick, my partner, who we haven't mentioned, but these retreats are run by myself and my partner Patrick, both of us musicians. We work together, but this way it's a balance of the masculine and the feminine. People ask me all the time if men come on these retreats, right? Yes, that's all I can say. It's really important for men. It's important for everybody right now, but I feel like we have such an issue with the masculine being pushed down at the moment, right? Like they need help, they need support, they need their voices to be heard, right? And men need to find their place again. There's such an interesting dynamic shift going on between men and women. So it's super important that men show up to these retreats because they're the future just as much as women are the future, and every single voice, right, matters right now. And so this information is just good for everyone, all walks of life, all ages, all sexes, all everything. Like every single human being welcome. Um, there's more retreats from there too. So what I would recommend you do is go to www.vocal-transformation.com, and then there's going to be the list of retreats that are coming. And if you have any questions, you can just email me there. You can reach out. You can go to my Instagram. You can DM me. I would be happy to hear from anybody who's out there.
And I can say, because I've been on so many retreats, they actually are fun. Yes, they're deep and amazing. And I mean, the last one I went to was literally life-changing, but I still had fun. And there were still some downtimes. I went in the hot tub. I had amazing meals. I met lifelong friends that I'm still close with and in touch with. And it was amazing. So I highly recommend it. One of my friends actually just signed up for the one in California. And Maryn, and we'll have all your links to everything here in the show notes and here on the website. Maryn, it was such an honor to have you here and share your work. You know how I feel about your work. I love it so much that I cannot tell people enough how much I recommend this. Especially that I bring her in to my group programs to teach my own clients, little bits. We can't go that deep, but I only bring in people whose work I've done and whose work has helped me that I've paid for personally. So that's why I have her on here. I highly recommend her. Thank you so much, Maryn, for being with us. It was such an honor.
Thank you, Beth. I love you. And everybody, be safe and be well and be bold out there.
Be bold. And really quickly before we go, I keep forgetting to mention I have a new summit coming up, Psychedelic Sacred Medicines, Purpose and Business. The link will be shared as of September 13th. It's free. You can join. We have a huge amount of new speakers this year, so please join in, share it around. This is how we transform the planet, really get into our hearts and create the new world that we all want to see. Lots of love to you all. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're feeling inspired, I'd appreciate it if you showed your love with a review. And check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of this podcast. You can also head to bethaweinstein.com to learn more about me and grab my free business growth trainings. Remember, you carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times.